Well then, hope you all enjoyed that. Obviously, please welcome to the stage Captain Eugene Cernan, and again, Director Mark Craig. Extremely happy to have you here. It's a real honour. Obviously, that film is, I mean, I love that film. I'm sure many of you do. I suppose the first question is, how did that film come about, and what were some of the challenges you faced when you were making it?
The main challenge I faced at the outset, I guess, really was nobody wanted it, and this gentleman to my right didn't really want to do it. Apart from that, it was green lights all the way. No, I was in the doldrums for about 18 months with it, you know, trying to convince, you know, broadcasters to at least consider it, and it took a while. And basically, the turning point came when I went to Mark Stewart, who really was the guy that enabled it to happen. It still took 3 years after that moment, but you know, we're very proud, all of us, to be here. Particularly for me at Sheffield, because you know, this is my sort of, you know, kind of professional home in many ways, and I can't believe I'm sitting here next to Eugene after all these years, showing him the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you've obviously had like a lot of media attention about the technical side of moon landings, everything. What's it like to have your personal life like so vividly displayed on the big screen?
Yeah. Let me take a moment and thank you folks out there for the overwhelming welcome. I'm indeed proud, and it's a pleasure, and it's a privilege to be with you. You know, I had a dream as a kid. I never ever thought that that dream would take me to the moon. When I first met Mark Craig, and he talked me into doing this crazy thing about making a movie about me, I never ever believed it would lead us to this stage. And here we are. And, you know, one of the... I first met Mark real quick many years ago. Passionate young man, passionate about... He read my book. The intent of my book was not to be a technical book, not to be a space book. What was a book? It was intended for me to talk to you and answer all your questions. How did it feel? What did it look like? Were you scared? Did you feel any closer to God? Those are the questions I've been getting for 25 years. And I was finally convinced to put some of that down on paper. Mark read it. And he was a passionate young boy and said, we've got to share this with generations into the future. You had a dream, and you believed in yourself, you believed in the dream. You followed your father's advice and just did your best, and indeed I did surprise myself. You know, and the book was intended, and this movie was intended not to be about me, but it was intended to be a story about a young boy, just like everyone else in the world, just like everyone in this country, just like everyone else back home. A young boy who grew up in Chicago, blue-collar family, immigrant grandparents, had a dream, you know, was fortunate that his parents had a dream also, to have him get the education they never had a chance to get. Graduated Purdue University way back, well, 1956 to most of you, that's before God created water, I know. And from there on, my life is a fairy tale. Truly is a fairy tale. You could not have written fiction, Mark, back then. You would never have found anyone to publish it. And Mark found that fairy tale and said it was worth sharing. And God bless you. Here we are. And thank you for your response to it. That's really, really important.
Excellent. In the film, there's a great deal of archive footage. Like most of it, I mean, the majority of it I've never seen before, and it's it's really refreshing to see that, you know, a lot of space films tend to use the same image. It's really great to see that, and I wonder what your thoughts were on some of the archive that's in there.
There's archive footage that folks found that I didn't remember, and there's some I'd never seen before, and some of it really hit home. That Gemini 9 accident, where we're all four flying to St. Louis and the prime crew crashed, and you saw me standing there, and he picked up that T-38 with the whole top sheared off, charcoal, nothing but the tail showing, and put it on a flatbed truck. I was there, but I'd never seen that before, and it brought home a lot of memories. We had our day, we had our ticket tape parades, but like anything in life that is worthwhile, we paid our dues. We lost some good friends along the way.
Have you ever really thought about what would have happened if they had survived, if that crash hadn't been so serious, if, like, the effect that would have had on crew selection, about where your life would have actually gone from there?
You know, so many things, and when I say a fairy tale, all the things that weren't supposed to happen, happened. I wouldn't, as you heard, I didn't apply for the space program, I wasn't qualified for the space program, hadn't gone to test pilot school, yet I was selected. Okay, I was selected, I was one of 14. I should not have flown Gemini 9. Charlie Bass got killed. That wasn't supposed to happen. Had he not got killed, I guarantee you, he was one of the finest, and certainly would have walked on the moon, would have commanded a flight on the moon. You know, there's all kinds of those incidents along the way. If Mike Collins, who flown an Apollo 11, wanted to fly again, Mike would have commanded a flight and walked on the moon. There wouldn't have been enough flights left for old Ratash here. It just wouldn't have happened. And that's why when I look back and I tried sitting out there, and I'm looking at the story, I'm not looking at me. And truly, folks, it's not about me, it is about the story. And I looked at that, and that's why it's a fairy tale. All those things that happened had to happen for some reason. And fate plays a big factor in all of our lives. And I gotta say this again, I said it up there. Fate played a wonderful trick on us. And Neil Armstrong was not specifically picked to be the first man on the moon. I guarantee that. Turned out that he was, for whatever reason. Flights got canceled, flight got changed. Guys got killed along the way. But fate played a wonderful trick on us, because nobody could have handled being the first man on the moon with greater dignity than my friend Neil Armstrong. And that's the way it was for all of us. No one could have written a script going in as to who would have flown or which mission when and where, and who would have walked on the moon. I just want to add this, because I don't know if you're going to ask a question. It was extremely important for me to be able to not just walk on the moon after Apollo 10, but command my own flight. You heard me say a little bit of it up there, but I needed to find out myself whether I was good enough. I needed to do that, and maybe that's one of the things I want young kids. I want to inspire young kids to be willing to try to find out if they're good enough, so that when the time comes, they're able to walk on their moon. And, you know, none of what we're talking about would have happened today, would have come out here, would we be on a stage to try and hopefully leave a legacy to those generations to follow, if it wasn't for Mark's vision and passion about the whole thing. I'm just so fortunate of fate played a trick on me, because I'm fortunate to be here today.
In addition to this, like, you know, your story, the story, technically the film is very impressive. It's got a very distinct visual style and the visual effects and the animation and things like that.
Isn't that great?
It's fantastic. Yeah. And I was just wondering how you approach that and what your thoughts are.
Well, I would like to point out, obviously I didn't make the entire film by myself. There's a lot of collective talent on that screen, and some of them are here tonight, from Stephen Slater, who did the archive, from the production team, from Mark Stewart Productions. But I mean, my background is actually as a graphic designer working in television. I started out at the BBC doing news and weather maps, and then ended up at Channel 4 for a while doing things with the Channel 4 logo and title sequences for documentary strands. And that's how I got seduced into documentaries. I remember going to Peter Salmon, who was then the head of Factual at Channel 4, and saying, look, Peter, I want a sort of career change. I'd like to explore possibilities in documentaries. What do you think? And he says, Mark, if I were you, I wouldn't do it. He suggested I shouldn't, but I did it anyway because I guess I was, big-headed and arrogant enough to sort of ignore his advice. But I guess, I've worked on a different number of documentaries and documentary types, but I can't get away from the sort of graphic design or the post-production technique stuff that I've got some kind of a handle on, which is why I wanted to sprinkle a little bit of animation in there, a bit of CGI, some visual effects and stuff like that, and of course not forgetting the sound design. I'm a frustrated musician. And I've spent a lot of time in recording studios and messed about with sound, and again fortunate to work with a couple of great guys from Molyneux and Nick Adams, the sound designer, just to make a rich tapestry that took a very familiar subject and hopefully serve it up in such a way that was fresh and interesting.
Yeah, let me say something about all the animation and all the technical effects that went in. Someone asked me this morning, is that the way it really happened? Thinking about Apollo 13, did they put Hollywood into it? I want to promise you, the animation really blew me away because I thought I was out there again floating around that spacecraft. They were incredible. And nothing was scripted. If I had no idea what he had in mind. If I did, I might have said something different. But I said what I felt, what I thought. And when we went to the cemetery, there were some movie things for me, nostalgia, that brought things back. And I looked at those headstones of Chaffee and Grissom and Bassett and some of my other buddies. There's a lot more out there than it's just those few. Like tonight, like standing here right now, I asked myself as I looked at those stones, why me? Why am I not there? And why is not Charlie Bassett here? We never know. We just don't ever know.
Yeah. You never know quite what to say there. For me, one of the most shocking things, and I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but is your schedule. When you flip through the pages in your schedule, I think most of us would struggle with a quarter or half of that. Just how do you manage that, and is that going to change now that the films come out and no films coming out? Is that going to start winding down?
I feel a bit guilty at this point. I hate to tell you, Gene, but
I don't know. The voice from up above says, "Hey, folks, start getting new hips and new knees, and your grandkids, instead of being little kids, start graduating college and begin to realize, hey, are you doing it all over again?" And I made up my mind, and I just need to get disciplined enough to follow my own thoughts and guidelines. That the most important thing, can think of for all of us, the most important thing we have in our life, our family, our friends, and taking the time to enjoy them. Time. Every time you turn around, someone's gone, something changes, someone grows up. Family, friends, and taking the time to enjoy them. So hopefully I've grown up enough to appreciate that. With enough aches and pains, I'll be reminded on a daily basis.
Is there anywhere we can go fishing in Sheffield?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You saw that ranch out there? That's a little ranch I have in the hill country. And Neil Armstrong had his Tranquility Base. That's mine.
It seems gorgeous. I think we're going to open up to some questions now, if that's right.
Whatever you'd like. Can I make one other statement, really? Because I think I'm sitting here, and this is part of a fairy tale. You know, Mark mentioned a lot of people he had on his team. I wouldn't be here for certain, not only for Mark, but if, and this is not a commercial, but if Mark Stewart Production and Mark himself hadn't got personally involved in this, and I want to publicly now in front of you folks, Mark, God bless, and I thank you. I'll never be able to thank you enough.
Second. Please talk to him afterwards, he has much to say.
Okay. Now, we don't have a roving mic, so what we're going to do is, if you shout your question, I'm going to relay that to Captain Cernan. So, right here.
I must congratulate you on a beautifully crafted and deeply personal journey. Almost inevitably, such journeys bring with them new insights and perspectives on one's life. Was this true for you, and if so, what were they?
Did you catch that? Because that was a long question.
Yeah, it was, I guess if I understood you right, you know, journeys like you just saw do bring a new perspective to life. I guess part of it is what I said, you know, have I been too focused, too selfish? Have I been too goal-oriented all my life? You know, I wanted to fly, and it didn't make any difference what was in my way. I was going to be a naval aviator. And you can take every bit of my life from there on, all the way to, I turned out a chance to walk on the moon on Apollo 16. My boss didn't believe that. That's the most incredible, with absolutely no guarantee that I'd ever fly again. Much walk on the moon, much less get a command. That was the biggest risk I ever took in a space program. And maybe that better describes, you know, the perspective I had on life at that point in time. I got if that's what I want to do, and that's where I'm going, and that truly is selfish, because you can over-focus yourself. I think you got to look around and take that introspective look at yourself, and as you get older, particularly, realize, as I said, I look down at those last footsteps. I know I wasn't coming this way again. Someone would, but it wouldn't be me. You know, you got to put some of those things behind you. I don't live in the past, I live in the future. But I've got to sort of temper that future now and realize what really is important. I'm 80. I'm going to live to be 85, as my friend Baldy and I agreed to. Who knows? If I do every year after that, it'll be a God-given year. So that's in perspective, yeah. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm listening to myself. And if I listen to myself long enough, maybe I'll start following my own desires.
Excellent. Yeah, right there. Yeah, no, behind you, sorry.
This was The Last Man on the Moon. When are we going to see the film The Next Man on the Moon?
Well, I'm with you. I'll tell you this. Maybe we should relabel this The Last Man of Apollo on the Moon, or The Most Recent Man on the Moon. I will tell you, when I came back from Apollo 17 and got on the soapbox at Kennedy in 1973, you know, they always, all the press, how's it feel to be the last? How's it feel to be the tail of the dog? How's it feel to be the last one over the fence? And and then I got on my horse. It's not the end. It's just the beginning of a whole new era in the history of mankind. Not only are we going to go back to the moon by the end of this decade, said that in 1973, but we'll be on our way to Mars by the turn of the century. And that gave me 20 28 years. Now, my timetable is a little off, but I will not relent. We will go back to the moon. And there's all kinds of good reasons, I won't go into them now. We will go to Mars. Because curiosity is the essence of human existence. Who are we? Where we come from? Where's the life on Mars? We're going to go here for no other reason because it's there. But what you and I have to do, my generation, your generation, and the big brothers that follow, is going to give the same opportunity as little kids down there in grade school. Inspire them to dream about doing things they didn't know they could do. Flying for me as an 8 or 10-year-old kid was so far out of reach, it truly was the ultimate dream. Never going to happen. We give them the opportunity and we inspire them and we encourage them, and hopefully that's a legacy I can leave via this movie. To inspire those young kids to dream. They're the ones, your kids, your grandkids, and theirs are going to take us back to the moon and on Mars. When? Pick a time. I don't know. I won't say it, but it's going to happen. And I can look your grandkids or kids in the eyeball, and I can promise it will.
And of course, the next man on the moon may actually also be a woman. So you never know. There's a Chinese astronauts.
Well, it could very well. It might very well. I met a lot of young girls. Who wants to go to the moon? I want to be the first woman on the moon. It's getting. We're so politically correct. We don't call them manhole covers anymore. We call them people hole covers.
Yeah.
I really would like to congratulate you both on this film, and my question is going a bit more to the filmmaking part of it. So, as you mentioned, it was not that easy to convince this wonderful character, now you to be a character again in the film, to agree on it. So how did the process start? Like, you made very set camera, I don't know, the camera was always far away. Quite often it was like also kind of arrangement where he would go and where he would step, and then you had the interview, which became the comment, I guess. So how did you convince him doing it? Was it like a lot of him kind of, no, I want to do this? I just would like to know a little bit, because I can see you both have to be strong characters to make this wonderful film happen. I think it was the right choice to do it, but I just would like to know a little bit about it.
Okay, thank you for saying that. I don't really like sticking my camera up close in someone's face and getting them to tell me about their life. I like putting radio mics on people and going some distance. Like, that guy is over there. We're aware we're being filmed, but it's not inhibiting me in any way. So that was part of the approach. And of course, hopefully Gene can sort of forget for a while that we're there, and you begin to capture spontaneous moments, and there's a few of those in the film. Gene's also, he's a military man. He's been through an organisation that, boy, did they have a plan, and there's a mission, and he would ask me and the crew every day, okay, what's the plan? What are we doing? And I know I was a little bit cagey about that, because I don't want to tell you too much and make you too aware of what the plan was. We all knew what the plan was, and Gareth Dodds implemented that plan, our producer at the back there. And please speak to him if you want to know about all the logistics, and there were many of them. But I think that was it. I'd read the book, I'd sort of précéded that into some kind of, not script, but I knew what story I wanted to tell, and I worked very closely with the DOP, Tim Cragg, to get to, how to get the emotion out of that story along the way, as well as the information. And I'd never worked with Tim before, but I actually came to DocFest a couple of years ago, and I was here to see Lucy Walker's The Tsunami and the Cherry Blossom. And I went along to see that. I think it was in the cinema, and there was a little short film. Actually, it wasn't that short, but it was a film before that called How Mozart Saved My Life. And I'm not too big on classical music or Mozart, and I sat through it patiently. But I began to see just how incredible the cinematography was working with the editing and the subject matter. And I thought, I love this cameraman, And so we met him. you know, he's incredibly talented, a BAFTA-winning cinematographer, as mad as a box of frogs, and a perfect fit for the unit to work with this gentleman here. And so, you know, a lot of things came together. You know, some of them were planned, some of them were spontaneous, but, you know, I think, you know, we worked very closely together. We were a small little unit, and we all got to know each other very well. And I think it's in building that relationship with your subject, not just Gene, but those close to him. And I think once you build that trust and familiarity with each other, then you can begin to get some of the, you know, personal stuff.
Yeah, let me just say one thing. I love your description of the film. Hear what you said, wonderful film. I like that. Thank you. You know, Mark just kept coming at me, coming at me, coming at me. He got the big pest. And I said, okay, fine. I said, you know, it's your, you know, you got to make me a hero of some kind, because I am who I am. What you see is what you get. What you, as I said, it was unscripted. What you heard is what was going through my brain at the time. One thing I requested, almost demanded he do, was not make this film exclusively about me. I said, I got a whole family. I got grandkids. I got friends. And I said, I gave him a list about that long of people I said, please interview. And about 3/4 of those people have been interviewed and have got great things to say, not about me, but about this piece of history is on a cutting room floor down there somewhere.
It happens.
And, well, it happens, I know that. And but that was the thing I wanted. And you saw my wife, my ex-wife, my daughter, my friends, my astronaut colleagues. The only thing my dogs didn't do was bark, but they were part of it too. But that was, it was important. If you're going to tell this story of that kid with a dream to when he got to the moon or thereafter until today, you got to include other people, not me. And he did. And it didn't take long. And I think one of the keys here is we began to enjoy each other's company, and very quickly got to trust each other as a crew. And had a good time doing it, as a matter of fact.
Good.
No, we did, and you know, but inevitably, I'm not there to have a good time. I'm there to, you know, get my job done, and of course, inevitably, I did have to ask you some tough questions about your personal life and some of your failings, if I could call them that, because I know you've spent you spent many years being told by people, you know, how wonderful you are, and you know where I'm going with this. And so it was a little bit difficult for me to sometimes, you know, prod you with that stick. But to be fair to Gene, you know, he did say, listen, Mark, you know, don't make me out to be too wonderful, because I'm really not. And that's a testimony to the, you know, how broad his shoulders are, and to the perspective that, you know, a man of your age has, you know, once you've reached it.
The next documentary you should do is a documentary of the making of this film. That would be a good one.
Yeah, we've got one more. Right here.
Gene, many people, before they embark on something going into the unknown, try and visualise themselves doing that task. Was there anything at all, prior to going to the moon and walking on the moon, what you tried to imagine what it would be like and what the difference were in the reality of what it was actually like doing it?
Can't help me with the details. I got most of that question.
It was, you know what, even after it was like the difference between imagining walking on the moon and the reality of doing it.
And I flew 3 times, twice to the moon, and every flight was. I flew 3 times. Every flight I made was the first flight, if you understand what I'm saying. And I went to the moon on Apollo 10, came close but didn't land. Saw some of the Earth rises over the moon on Apollo 10. Went back on Apollo 17. I'd been there. My 2 crewmates had not been, so I tried to be their mentor. But it was still, I didn't want to admit to them, it was the first flight for me. There had been 5 landings on the moon before I got there. We debriefed. I knew what every one of those guys thought, and I knew what he felt. Although in those days, believe it or not, we would talk to each other more technically. We wouldn't let each other get down into our psyche and you know, oh gee let me tell you what it was about. But I had a pretty good feeling what it was like. I had a feeling 1/6 grader, you're black. Let me tell you, until you're there, you just don't know. It was, I'm not going to say, I had the big picture, but I didn't have the experience. And there's nothing that can take the place of being there or doing it yourself. I can tell you, you can read my book, you can watch this film, give me a chance to take you back, stand you next to me, look back at the earth. That's the only time and place that you're really going to fully understand what it's like, surrounded by the infinity of space, infinity of time. That's that blackness that surrounds this earth right now. And when I said I could see it three-dimensionally, and when I said I'm going to reach out and bring it back, I figured that's the closest thing I can get to taking you back there with me.
Excellent. I think that's literally all we've got time for. I am really sorry that some of you got questions, I know. I think all that's really left to do is to genuinely thank both of you. Everyone could give a massive round of applause.